episode 343 of Global from Asia Podcast. Chinese New Year's coming. We're talking about America, U.S. banking for non-Americans, for the international community, or for e-commerce sellers. Even if you're American, everybody gets a benefit today. We're going to have a good little discussion about U.S. banking the way it maybe should have always been. Let's tune in.
Welcome to the Global from Asia Podcast, where the daunting process of running an international business is broken down into straight-up, actionable advice. And now, your host, Michael Michelini.
How does my hair look? Still getting used to the video, I think I hope most of you are listening and not watching, but we try to get it out on the YouTube or video podcast of iTunes, and I'm getting old. I'm going to be 40 years old in April. Can you believe that? And it's been almost a year. Been locked down here in Shenyang, China. Eating some dumplings, preparing for Chinese New Year, as I said in a little preview there. And it was 1 year ago the lockdown started in China. And remember that, had no idea, should I go back, should I not? I was in Manila, Philippines, and I finally made it back in March, and lucky I made it back with my family. Many of my friends are separated. There's been a lot of drama. I'm sure a lot of you are hearing it or experiencing it, and I really, from the bottom of my heart, send you the best for your life, personal, business, family, loved ones. It's making us all change what we're doing. Maybe today's show will help change you or improve you. American banking, we started this show about Hong Kong banking or Hong Kong companies, and now we're talking about U.S. banking and U.S. companies. But we're global, right? So a lot of the tables have turned. Like, we've got a lot of traffic on the site, people looking for U.S. banking solutions as non-Americans, and especially in a COVID world, they can't just fly to JP Morgan Chase and walk in and throw down their passport, get a bank. It was never that easy, but now it's even harder. But there's a amazing tech startup that has cracked the code, Mercury, and they're actually supporting this show. So they're a partner. We have this GFA partner program for companies that want to be super fans of what we do, and they are one of them. So I wanted to bring on Travis Price. He's the head of e-commerce growth, very talented guy. He's also built up his own Amazon business and e-commerce business, so we give some really good insights. And we talk about some USA banking strategies and, of course, their service and how they can help you. And after the show, I'm going to talk about my experience. I have a Mercury account. I partner with a non-American. I couldn't get a Bank of America account. Can you believe that? So I had to use them. So I'll share that. We also have a video review on globalfromasia.com/reviews/Mercury, where I wrote a step-by-step guide of how I went through the process, gave you some tips on your application, and some cash back bonuses. So without further ado, let's tune into the show with Travis Price, e-commerce growth at Mercury. Let's do this. So we are doing interviews with Mercury, but they're also our sponsor and support this show. So I just want to make sure you check them out. If you want to use our special link, you'll get a little bit of a special landing page with a cash bonus for certain usage. No additional fees to you, and it also helps us out here at the show. globalfromasia.com/Mercury, and they'll take care of you. Hope to see you there, and thanks again for tuning into this show and supporting our partners, GFA partners. All right, thank you everybody for choosing to download, listen, and watch, or most likely listen to our next podcast. This is always a hot topic. U.S. company, U.S. banking for your e-commerce business. It's a very important thing, especially obviously new sellers, but even current sellers, structure and banking, there's a lot of opportunity to save money or even make more money. So I'm really happy to have on the show with us Travis Price, e-commerce growth at mercury.com. Thanks for coming on, Travis.
Yeah, happy to be here, Mike. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. We've been chatting the last couple of months and preparing for this and some other things. So it's great to have you. Do you want to give a little bit of background about yourself and what you've done?
Sure, no problem. And just first off, I want to say I've had a great time in your community just in the few months that I've been a member. I made some fantastic relationships. So Really appreciate, what you're doing. Keep rocking. I love this
Thanks,
whole
buddy.
setup.
Really appreciate it.
Yeah, so a little bit of background on me. About 6 years ago, I invented and patented a Christmas stocking that dispenses wine. Most people just know it as the wine stocking. It's called Santa's Flask. It ended up going viral and becoming a #1 bestseller on Amazon for 5 years in their drinking flasks category.
Great.
So that was sort of my first foray into e-commerce and entrepreneurship in general. Luckily, I had, quite a bit of luck and had a good success with the first one. But I learned a ton. I made some mistakes later on trying to start other companies and businesses and had some other successes. But I really ended up finding a really great group of sort of entrepreneurs at wish.com. So myself and only about 6 other people, we sort of started this incubator within Wish, which was a program to basically just create and launch new business units, new ideas, almost like a startup incubator, but within a company. So one of our projects did really well. It was the Wish local pickup program. So Wish basically realized, maybe we won't be able to compete with Amazon on their, fulfillment warehouse part of the business. Instead of going out buying, a bunch of real estate, building these warehouses, let's just partner with local brick and mortar retailers and let's see if, they're open to us putting some product in the back of their store. And then we can send them consumers as foot traffic into their store to pick up a product in the hopes that they would buy something from that store while they're in the store waiting to pick up the product. So it was sort of this like win-win, partner model that we came up with. And we tested it in 100 locations globally about, a little over 2 years ago. And we saw just like really great traction, and both parties were really liking the service. After we launched the first 100 stores, we started to see a lot of traction and demand from both parties, right? So the store owners and the Wish consumers that were going into the stores to pick up the products. And so we rolled it out to 36,000 locations across 3 continents in about 12 months. So it was like hyper growth. We hired over 100 people, and we built a really fantastic business that helped a lot of folks out at Wish and just brick and mortar retail, really. So that was a fantastic, opportunity. And I learned so much about cross-border e-commerce, cross-border trade, et cetera. And I was just kind of chatting with some of the folks over at Mercury, and I decided to go, start on this new adventure with Mercury. So I'm now leading e-commerce growth here, and we're basically building, a bank that's for startups, technology companies, and e-commerce companies. But we have certainly found, product market fit with the foreign e-commerce entrepreneur who, especially during COVID, it's very hard to travel to the US to set up a bank account. So yeah, that's sort of me in a nutshell.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I'm nodding my head up and down. I mean, I've heard of you guys before we even were talking, and yeah, I see the huge opportunity because international sellers, which was, let's maybe use that as a good segue into the topic, is, everybody's going into the US. I mean, one is of course selling into the US, but I think a long time ago, people like, you've also worked at Wish, you worked with Chinese sellers or international sellers. A lot of times people didn't have a US company or a US bank. Well, I think the trends are changing, and more over the last few years have been opening up US companies and US banks, even though they might actually not even really need to. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that's something you've seen or noticed, but I've definitely felt the trend of registering US companies and US financial solutions. Is that something you've also been seeing?
Yeah, it is. And I've done a little bit of research on this. I think it's because, there are a lot of sellers on Amazon that are wanting to sell on Amazon US, but are located internationally. And I think it just makes the whole process a lot smoother if they set up a US corporation. So I kind of went through and was looking at some of the largest sellers on Amazon that were traditionally sort of located in China, and a lot of them had the U.S. corporation all set up. So I've also heard that the government in the U.S. that grants the EIN numbers is just totally swamped with applications. So I think that this is a trend that we're seeing more of. It's really important if you're selling on e-commerce, U.S. marketplaces, and you're located abroad, to be able to get those payments secure, safe, secure, and quickly. And so I think this is one of the best ways to go about, connecting to the various payment processors.
For sure. Yeah, and some other insights I've seen. I mean, I think it's both policies as well as money. I think if you're really becoming a large seller, you want to actually register in the US, because even just the banking fees alone, if you can get, which we'll talk about some solutions in, of course, Mercury, but even with traditional banks or others, you're going to save more money, at least on the transaction fees. I mean, I know there's taxes and other upkeep, but as far as the transactions, usually if you do cross-border transactions, especially on a B2C level, you're going to pay a much higher transaction fee, between either PayPal or even Stripe. It's more expensive for overseas versus a US-based Stripe or these other others. So, if you're doing high volume, the transaction cost is going to be much higher internationally than if you have a domestic US company. Yeah. So for sure, I don't think people realize that, but that's something most people learn as they grow, right? I think you've seen that.
And I think one thing that I've also seen, and by no means am I an accountant, but if you are selling on Amazon US and you're selling to, let's call it 10 different states, and you have to pay sales tax in all of those states, and again, I'm not an accountant, but I believe that you need to do that. It's quite difficult to pay the sales tax from like a virtual account or an account located abroad. So that's also one value add that we've sort of seen with our service and across our clients.
Great. Yeah, I think that's also kind of a reaction, even in Europe with the VAT. A lot back in the old days, cross-border sellers just didn't care and didn't listen or didn't worry about sales tax or VAT.
There's, at least from what I've been seeing in the marketplace, this kind of trend for, non-resident founders to create U.S. entities and U.S. bank accounts, just so that they're better equipped to, integrate with payment processing providers, to integrate with marketplaces, to integrate or to pay their taxes in the states if their accountant advises they do that. So I think, that is a trend that we're seeing, especially on Amazon, but I can't speak for really many of the other marketplaces.
True. Well, obviously Amazon's a dominant force here. So okay, I think I want to at least talk about states. I know neither of us are really comfortable to advise a state, but I think what I've learned to go from Asia when we started so long ago is opening a company anywhere, whether it's US, Hong Kong, even China, or most places, is somewhat straightforward, but the banking always is the challenge. But as far as the US, when people do register, the first thing you need to choose, there's a couple things you need to choose. One is what state, because there's 50 states, at least I believe it's 50, or is it 50? 51 now, or 50 states, I think, still. I'm kind of tripping on my word there, but I think it's 50 states still. I don't know if there's been adding.
Yeah. 48 plus last okay. I believe. Maybe I have it wrong.
Okay. All right. Well, let's just say there's states in the U.S. and people don't a lot of international, people don't know that or aren't so aware. But the way you open a company is you pick your state, because actually you could do all the states if you wanted, or maybe you even have to, depending on how big you become or how you operate. But usually you just need one state to start. Obviously, the most common people always think of is Delaware, which is still a most, common solution. I think another one people talk about is Wyoming. And I think Wyoming is brought up a lot because it's relatively low fees, low upkeep, and also some extra privacy. I believe some of the naming is not shown as much for those that don't want maybe their name. I think there's certain information. I'm not sure if... And I actually just went through the process again. I'm starting another Amazon business. I'm using Mercury as well. Mm-hmm. I picked Florida because I've done Delaware before, but I picked Florida because it's a little bit more convenient for me. My family's there and I have accountants and people I know there. So it was just a little bit easier for me. But Yeah, I mean, picking the state is pretty straightforward. You could do a lot of, most states, I think, do it online now. Or of
Yeah,
course you can use agent, right? What are your experiences with some of
yeah.
this?
So first off, I think the majority of folks that I interface with either incorporate in Delaware or Wyoming. I don't know the exact reasons why. I think you're correct in that it has to do with privacy, probably lower taxes as well, something along those lines. Probably pretty easy to set up relative to, for instance, maybe California or a state like that. But that's one side. The other is I don't really know the fees associated with the various states. I know that in California, I pay like $800 a year for LLC. I don't know if you've experienced that same fee in Florida or if it's cheaper.
300, 3 or 400.
So I think some states are a lot cheaper, for instance, in like, your Californias of the states. So that might be a factor as well. And then, third, there are, incorporators, so companies that help with this sort of thing to help you incorporate if you need help. There's even online incorporators. You can literally go to a website, click on a link, and it costs like $50 or something like that just to have them do it for you. So it's really not hard at all to, like you said, sort of set up a U.S. Entity, whether that be an LLC, a C Corp, or an S Corp. But where it really becomes difficult and where people run into trouble is creating that U.S. bank account from abroad. So
Yeah, which is what we'll focus on today. But I think most people that go through the process, they learn that. They're like, I open a company, and then they think, which actually becomes a pain in the butt, because same with Hong Kong. Hong Kong banks are so hard now, but getting a company is pretty easy. So a lot of people are registering U.S. companies or Hong Kong companies or companies in other countries, but they don't get a bank account. And it's almost like, what can I do with a company without a bank, right? Basically, the bank is the business, right? Like, I need to receive money and send money. Like, that's what a business is. It's like, but registering a company is just like, it's like having a baby. It's like another entity, right? You are creating a separate entity. You mentioned EIN earlier, which is employee identification number, which means like tax ID. Basically, that's your company ID in the US and the federal level. So yeah, you can have you become a company, but you don't have the ability to receive money or send money without a bank, right? So I think we just explained the traditional banks. Actually, we have a pretty hot blog post, I think, on Global from Asia about US banking, and people think they can get a Chase Bank online, or they can get like a Bank America, or they can get these, especially as a non-US person, it's very hard, right? Or do you want to give us some of the traditional banking flow or requirements or experiences?
Yeah. I mean, so if you think about traditional banking for, I don't know, the past 100 years, if you wanted to create a business account, you would first, set up your entity like we talked about. You would get your EIN, and then you would come to the actual physical bank branch with your mountain of paperwork and your identification documents, and you would say, hey, this is the business I want to open. Can you create an account for me? You'd go through this whole process where they would look over all your documentation. They would try to, understand if you're doing some sort of money laundering or selling illegal products. And, they might not even accept your business at all. And this process might happen, on the spot, but typically it would just take like about 3 to 7 days, for them to even get back with you with an answer. So it's kind of a ridiculous process, and just the fact that you had to like go into a physical branch when, we're living in the year 2021, everything's done online. I can, pretty much do everything else online. Why do I have to go into a bank to do something as simple as this? And so now we're sort of seeing like the rise of what's called like neobanks, which is just like new banks, right? So these banks that are like Mercury, that are sort of digital first, that are trying to serve the needs of modern businesses that exist, in the digital space, that are using digital products, even if they're selling physical products. So that's really where we realized there was an opportunity, because, even just if you look at the banking industry as a whole, if we take a step back, there are a lot of different consumer banks that you can, create an account online and get set up pretty easily like that. But there was not a whole lot of business banks that you could do that. And per your point, people wanted and demanded that sort of service, and even thought that they could do it online, like at Chase, for example, because it just made intuitive sense. But it's not really the case. There's only a handful of sort of neobanks for businesses. And so we're excited to be in this space, and we're excited to help folks create accounts. But I think that sort of paints the picture of where we were and where we are now and where we're going. So
Sure. Yeah, it's the first time I heard the word neobank, honestly. I mean, I think of the cryptocurrency Neo or something, but Neo, or Matrix Neo.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, traditional banks are. I just think we do have to bring it up, though, just for completeness. Like, U.S. citizens can register a U.S. bank, some of them online. If you are a U.S. person, there are online application processes for like Bank of America and others. But actually, it didn't even work for me as an American, not because of me, but I had a foreign partner. So I did try to apply for Bank of America online, which has worked for me in previous businesses. But when I said I had foreign partners, I don't know what the percentage amount of foreign ownership was, but but what my point was, it didn't work for me even. So it says, what it says is you need to come into a branch. And I'm like, I called them up, right? And I'm like, hey, Bank of America,
I'm in China.
I'm a U.S. person, and my business partner is European, but he's in Thailand, and it's COVID. And they're like, sorry, that's our policy, that's our policy. And that's it.
It's totally ridiculous, like in this day and age, to have such restrictions on foreign founders and foreign business owners. Like, we can pretty much verify anything we need to verify over the internet nowadays. So I think that's just sort of, a legacy, thing that's going to be quickly disrupted and is being disrupted right now.
For sure. I mean, it's almost a little bit embarrassing in a way for America. It's supposed to be open to immigrants and international people, but there are definitely some challenges for non-Americans. Well, but we do have to say America is pretty open already, but comparatively speaking to most other countries. But yeah, so let's also touch on, I know listeners are aware of there's others that have been around quite a while. Like, we all think of Payoneer, we all think of these payment companies, but do you want to define where they fit in this kind of banking online and traditional spectrum?
Yeah, I'm happy to talk through sort of the differences between like a real US bank account such as Mercury or some other competitors and sort of these virtual accounts. I think that the virtual accounts do, serve a purpose. I by no means am advocating, that you switch from Payoneer to like a Mercury, but there are some reasons why you might want to, or at least know about Mercury or these sort of real physical bank accounts and the advantages of having one compared to sort of a money transfer service. So, the thing you have to realize is that money transmitters, so these money transfer services, Payoneer, TransferWise, et cetera, are really, they're virtual bank accounts. And so they're typically not insured by the FDIC, which you get with a real bank account. They typically, in my opinion, are not as secure. So if I am a business owner and I have an account, with the US bank, I would rather have my money in a physical bank than in an e-wallet, for instance, because I mean, you can almost equate it to, as an extreme example, like cryptocurrency. If I don't want to keep my cryptocurrency on the exchange, I want to put it like on a hard drive in the, the cold storage. So that's sort of like the comparison I make. But so I think for security reasons, it makes more sense to have, your funds in a US bank as well. And then there's just a couple other things. There's a lot of fees associated with virtual accounts. So for instance, if you want to receive disbursements from your Amazon account into your virtual account, typically they'll charge you a fee for receiving USD. And if you just have a USD denominated bank account, obviously there's no fees. The other thing is, when you want to transfer to your funds to your actual bank account in whatever home country you may be in, you're also going to get hit with a percentage based fee anywhere from like 0.5% to 3%, no matter the amount of the transactions. So that can really stack up, right? If you're doing $100,000 in revenue a month on Amazon and you're transferring that to your bank account, I mean, those fees really add up. And so it's much better, in my opinion, just to do a wire transfer, at a fixed cost. Obviously, you don't get immediate access to those funds, so that is one way where if you need immediate access, to those funds, it might be better to go with like a money transfer service provider if you value sort of speed over saving some money. So with the money transfer services, you can have your funds like typically within, I think, 1 to 4 hours. With a traditional bank, an international wire transfer takes anywhere from 1 to 3 days. So that's one thing to consider. But yeah, I mean, there are obviously some limitations to a U.S. bank account, including, the ability to hold multiple currencies. So, with some of these money transmitter services and e-wallets, you can hold, Chinese currency, British pounds, USD. However, at Mercury, we are looking into, offering that in the future. So that's something to look out for. But for now, that is a differentiator. So I would say, security, fees, a couple other things we talked about. I think actually one other thing I want to bring up is sort of debit and credit cards. So
that's been on my list. Yeah.
So like with these money transmitters, I think some of them do have debit cards.
Yeah, some do have debit cards. Yeah.
But I think that they charge a fee for them, and there's a percentage-based fee for using them, and you can only use them in certain geographies. So I think there's a lot of limitations to those cards, as opposed to if you have, a debit or credit card issued by a U.S. bank, you're pretty much guaranteed to be able to use it anywhere, and you're probably going to pay low fees and potentially even get points on it. So I think that's a big differentiator as well. So, right now at Mercury, we just have the debit cards, but we also have virtual debit cards, which is interesting. And there's no fees for those. And we're coming out with a credit card this year as well. So.
Oh, wow. Credit card too. Yeah. So that was just a whole bunch of information. I'll try to reiterate or simplify So, yeah, I mean, I think a lot of these, of course, everybody knows Payoneer, but there's a bunch of others. And what they are is virtual banking or online banks or wallets. So they have sub-accounts under their accounts. And I think, of course, they still need a license to do that. Not anybody can just do that, but they somehow have a way to get like sub-account numbers under their main bank account in the US or other countries. And then they receive funds usually to that main account, and then they allocate it to the sub-account. So like if 10 of us had a sub-account, somebody sends in money, whether it's Amazon or whoever, it goes to their main account. They would then say whose sub-account is this, and then they would issue it to your account. And then they make money. I mean, everybody has to make money, but they make money they have certain fees for maybe receiving that or sending that. And then I think the main fee they make is that the foreign exchange fee. When you send, they almost require you to exchange it when you take it out. So you take it out to, your China bank, your Hong Kong bank, or your overseas bank. They usually don't allow you to put it in the same currency. They usually, in my experience, maybe I'm wrong and there's different, but that's usually where they make their money, is that exchange, which you said could be anywhere from like 0.5% to 3%, just so people heard that. That's where people can start saving money, is if you actually go ahead and open a US company and get a traditional US bank. So I'm just checking my brief outline. I want to share a little bit of my experience using it too. I think I can do my experience in the outro. Like maybe I'll do that in the outside the interview at the end. So,
okay.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. Sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to bring up one point that I just recalled. So I've spoken with a lot of folks in India, Turkey, and in China. And many of them are saying that it's really hard for them to integrate with the e-commerce marketplaces in the US or with the payment service providers like Stripe, PayPal, and then on the marketplace side like Amazon, Walmart. If they have a virtual account, I guess those companies like are really not as open to virtual accounts as they are to real physical bank accounts. So I think that's one thing to consider. If you're having issues, there is a workaround, but I think a lot of people don't realize, that they can create an account remotely. So just wanted to call that out as well.
Okay. No, thanks. Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of people, like I said, we have one of our top blogs is about U.S. banking for non-Americans, and there is a lot of confusion and misunderstandings and assumptions. And so, yeah, hopefully this interview is helping. I think it is so far for sure. And then the debit cards is definitely a big benefit. And credit cards is even more amazing. I didn't know you guys are even working on that. So let's talk about the process. I also have a pretty good review page. I wrote up my experiences with screenshots, and I have a separate video too people can check out. But I think the first one is really amazing is there's no fee to apply, right? I mean, it's almost kind of crazy because you must be getting, I know sometimes I've talked to you and some of your other team members, I know you get overloaded with applications, but obviously it's pretty amazing. There's no fee to apply, right?
Yeah, so there's no fee to apply, and we don't require any sort of minimum balance. So we're pretty open to receiving, anyone can apply. I will say that we do have a large influx of applications coming in currently. However, we are hiring. We're looking to triple our support staff. So we've already gotten our sort of onboarding time down from, I believe it was like 5 to 7 days down to 24 hours now, 24 to 48 hours. So we're working hard on that. But yeah, I mean, really the only restrictions we have is if you're, selling like marijuana or pornography, or you're clearly a money launderer that's, like on some lists. So otherwise, we're totally open to people applying. Yeah, like you said, no opening account fees, no minimum balances. So yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and then the process is pretty fast. And then let's maybe just clarify more about the product, about the bank, the offer. So it's a real, I think you said it once or twice in the interview. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but you're calling it like it's a real bank, right? Like, do you want to, I don't know how you explain what it exactly is.
Yeah. So we partnered with Evolve Bank and Trust. They're like a 99-year-old institution in the United States. So they're sort of the real partner bank here, and we're sort of the software layer on top. And so we have built this sort of really slick product that really resembles more of like a SaaS product than it does a bank, but it is, fully partnered with Evolve Bank and Trust. So you do get that real US bank account and all the benefits of that, even though the product almost feels like an e-wallet or an e-account. But yeah, I mean, behind the login, you'll notice that there's integrations with, Stripe, PayPal, Amazon, Shopify, all the major payment processors, all the accounting software, that you use, QuickBooks, Xero, Pilot, and just like a whole host of sort of features that you would really expect in modern banking, but you don't really get if you're using like a Chase or a Wells Fargo. So for instance, super easy to search transactions. Like I remember when I was banking with Wells and I needed to look up a transaction, like the search functionality was terrible.
Oh, no, yeah, man.
It only went back like, I don't know, 6 months data, and then you had to like call to get more. It was so weird. So we've made that whole interface just a lot smoother and just designed a lot better. Yeah, other than that, you can send international and domestic wires from your laptop. So that's a huge plus, especially for folks that are, more nomadic. I was traveling quite a bit, when I sort of started on my entrepreneurial journey, and I would always have to come back to the US to send a wire transfer to my suppliers in China. I thought that was ridiculous. So we've removed things like that. We've really just kind of looked at the banking experience, from the ground up and tried to create a product that's 10x that experience. And we spent many years actually building it.
For sure. I mean, I'm a user and it's totally like online. Yeah, very like modern, not like what you normally expect. And then you can just also talk about the debit cards. So you can issue a physical card or a virtual card. And the virtual card, I actually haven't used too much. I think I just have my physical card. But the virtual card is awesome because you could have limits. So you could kind of use it for either. I don't want to mess it up. I don't want to say it wrong. But could I issue this? I could issue one to my staff, right? I could.
Yeah, you can
Not,
issue, I believe, up to 20 virtual cards within your account. And so you can issue those cards to different staff members, team members, and you can even set permissions and securities around what pages certain staff members can see and cannot see. Maybe you don't want them seeing, your total balance or access to that or whatnot. And just you want, them to have access to the virtual card that's capped at, $1,000 spend a day or something like that. What's also really cool about the virtual card that our clients really enjoy and that I personally also use is that you can create that virtual card instantly and start using it, for your operational expenses. You don't have to wait around anymore for a physical card to come in the mail. It takes like 3 to 4 weeks to get that if you're located abroad. So I think that's a big innovation as well.
It's hilarious too because for me, I get the physical card and I'll say it out here. I usually have somebody in the US take a picture of it or type it out. You never actually get the physical card. Like for me, like how many years? 14 years. I go back to see my parents, in the US. They'll give me the mail and there'll be a card that still has the sticker on it that's already expired because it's like 5 years old. I'm like, damn, like I've not, who uses a physical, especially now with lockdowns, everybody's online. Like, yeah. So it's really awesome that there's these virtual cards.
Absolutely. Another thing and a question I had for you is like, is there like Apple Pay? Do you use Apple Pay in China or any sort of like, hold your phone up to it?
WeChat or Alipay, basically.
Yeah.
But they're all like QR, which is pretty cool. I think some have Apple Pay here, but there is, I think, even Apple Pay because a lot of Apple users in China.
Gotcha. Yeah, because that's another great use case, and I use Mercury for that use case as well. Just like load up my virtual card on my phone instantaneously. Okay, I can now go make these purchases in person as well, like from my phone. It just makes sense,
That is a good one too. All right, and so I guess we're going to wrap up. But if we want to talk about some of the benefits, of course, we are a partner with Mercury. It's really a pleasure to have Mercury, supporting the community, and you joined in our membership, which is great. So we do have an affiliate link or a partner link, but it's giving both benefits for everybody. Maybe I won't say the exact amount because it might change. This show is evergreen. We get people listening to shows years later, but I think there'll always be some kind of little bonus for both sides. So if you sign up with globalfromasia.com/Mercury, there's a bonus if you spend a certain amount. There's some requirements, of course, get the account activated and actually use it and make some certain amount of spending on the card. And then I think, Travis, you even have some VIP benefits, or, there's the Tea Club or some other things, for bigger users you want to share?
Yeah. So as you sort of touched on with the, no fees to create an account, we actually don't have any fees at Mercury except for wire transfers. So we typically charge $5 for domestic wires and $20 for international wires, no matter what the amount may be. So again, not percentage based, just a single value. However, we do have for our premium users something called the Tea Room, which is free international wire transfers and free domestic wire transfers. So yeah, if folks in your community would like to speak with me about that, just shoot me an email, travis@mercury.com. I would be happy to discuss that further. But the Tea Room's awesome. You get, we deliver really nice tea.
Yeah, tea. We actually give tea too, which is crazy.
Yeah, that's why it's sort of called the Tea Room. So we actually send you very high quality tea as well. So you get the free banking experience and free tea. It's awesome.
Yeah. So, of course, you got to be, a high volume user, right? So the requirements, but they can talk, of course, if they figure I think like what is $1 million turnover a year or something? Like, depends, I guess, on the case.
Yeah, the current requirement is that you deposit $250,000 with Mercury. However, that could change in the future.
Yeah, I know it's hard to say exact numbers in the interview, but this is awesome, Travis. Again, thanks for supporting. I'm gonna do my story of how I use, I think, in the outro for the people, so we can save some time in the interview. But I'll talk about my experiences with it after, which has been very positive so far. And just for the record, we used it. I was even scared, like I was even scared to use, because Amazon Seller Central, getting an account is so nerve-wracking. They want the bank statement. And I'm like, actually, Travis even helped me in an email, to find it in there. I didn't know if it would work. It was a brand new account, brand new bank, but it went through. So I hope others get it too. But yeah, I mean, this is my only U.S. bank solution for my current Amazon business, so it's really awesome with foreign partners and everything. So thanks everything for what you, Travis, and Mercury doing. So.
Yeah, appreciate it and appreciate the kind words. And I'm really happy we're able to help you and folks like you, especially during lockdown that are, stuck in whatever country or locale they may be and really just can't even get here. So it's really exciting and to be able to help so many people.
Okay, and then I just want to also take a little clip of some of our mastermind. We had 2 sessions. I just kind of grabbed my camera while we did one of them and just recorded. And we have a really cool featured member, Zach Jung, who's giving us a little bit of insights. He's going through some things with his business, and we were talking to him about it. And this is just some of the excitement that's happening there. Let's tune in.
I'm working on a Shopee idea previously. I come from a web development background, and I was researching with a friend how to create tools for Shopee, similar to Helium 10 or Jungle Scout for Amazon, but for Shopee. I did some research. The partnership has somewhat fizzled, or it hasn't fizzled, it's crashed. Decided not to continue with the partnership. So right now, I'm kind of researching on what to continue with. I might go back to doing Shopify app development. I'll maybe do something with Amazon. It's great that I've got access to this community where everyone's doing e-commerce, that I can bounce ideas off and maybe do something that can hopefully help this community in terms of creating an app.
Just finished up our first mastermind for February. We got another one on the 16th. That was Zach Jung. He's working on a software project, which I didn't even know, he let me record. We don't record all the masterminds, but he's really, really amazing in the community, and he's building a software project, but it seems like there was a little bit of a difference with their partnership, which I just heard on this exact recording. But that's what this mastermind is all about, and he's still staying positive, and we're gonna do like a little session for him soon where people can get to know him. Maybe he can find a new partner in this community, but it would be great to get more people like you involved. Global from Asia membership GFA VIP. I hope to see you next one, February 16, 2021. Peace out. Thank you so much, Travis. I hope everybody enjoyed. We had some internet connection. I'm like holding my phone at the window. Man, we're doing our best here in deep North China here, freezing cold, but I thought it was an amazing show, and I really appreciate Travis giving us some tips and insights, of course, about what they're doing at Mercury, which I think is going to go through hyper growth, and just in general about U.S. business, U.S. banking strategies, things like that. I hope you got as much out of it as I did. I said in the show I was going to talk about my experience. I also have a video tutorial, I said, at globalfromasia.com/reviews/Mercury. You can check that out, but I want to maybe give some of my own experiences. So I've been kind of dropping the hints or dropping it. I'm opening up another Amazon brand, or I don't even want to say Amazon brand, e-commerce brand in the bar products niche. Still not prepared to make it totally public on the podcast. We're talking about this in our masterminds though, and the brand and the process if you want to get on the inside there. But I thought I could get a Bank of America. I used to do Bank of America online as a U.S. citizen, and I could get it. But we have non-American partners, so they said no. Or they didn't say no. They said, you and that non-American dude, y'all just come on in, walk into one of our branches here in America, and we want to shake your hand and do business together. I'm like, well, I'm in China and he's in Thailand. And she's like, well, I'm sorry, sir, but that's our policy. You got to come in here and schedule an appointment. I'm like, it's COVID. The world's locked down. There's no flights. I'm sorry, sir. That's our policy. Now, have a good day, sir. I'm like, all right, you're really nice, but that's not helping me. Anyway, but I luckily I wanted to work with Mercury anyways. I had heard of them, and we're working together now, and they're supporting the show. And I went through the whole process as a normal user. And it's super smooth. I mean, it's like the way banking probably always should have been. And I don't think it's just for non-Americans. I think Americans can and should use this too. I mean, it's got physical cards, virtual cards. It's totally online. You get I think text alerts or email alerts. Basically, it's like a way I believe a bank should be. You can see all your transaction history. It's got a nice little chart dashboard. It's built for tech people, e-commerce people, and they've noticed tons of people all around the world are opening these accounts, and they can legitimately do it. I'll have to say sometimes there was some kind of gray ways people did bank accounts in the U.S. before or anywhere else, but this is totally legit. And I've been using them. I'm paying our Amazon. I used them to verify our Amazon account, the scary Seller Central approval process. I sent them a statement, downloaded it from their website, uploaded it with my other crap, and prayed to the Amazon gods to give me an account to allow me to sell, and it worked. There was no question, not even no clarification, no request. So hope it works for you like that. But it was pretty amazing. I'm used to getting some Seller Central support, some painful request for some other document, but it worked, and I didn't have to go back. I could stay here in Shenyang, China, freezing cold. Did it all over this winter. So, and there's no application fee. Plus, if you use our globalfromasia.com/Mercury link, you can get up to, I don't want to say how much, but in $100 bonus. Of course, you got to spend or use the account. They're not just letting you just going to apply and get free money. And then we get something too. So it's win-win for both of us. And there's no application fee. And it's unbelievable. I mean, people used to pay hundreds and thousands of dollars for online banks. Regular banks, get connections to bankers, et cetera, et cetera. So, it seems like a no-brainer. I think if you have a bank account already, why not get another one? It's always good to have backup. We've said it in Hong Kong too. There's these online banking solutions there too. But it does seem like U.S. business is getting ahead with these kind of solutions and online, and it's such a weird world. We've kind of flipped around. We used to help people come to Asia. Now we're helping Asia people or foreign people go to the U.S. But that's what we go both ways. And we're going to keep on going. So I just want to say thank you for listening to this whole show. I know there's Clubhouse. I'm on Clubhouse. My last name is my username, but I was talking to another friend. I won't say his name, another active person in the community. And he's just like, I got kids. I'm busy. I don't really want to be hanging out on calls. But I've had some great calls, actually, a little bit about more internet marketing. But I'm on there. I know everybody keeps asking me if I'm on Clubhouse. But yeah, Clubhouse looks like a cool app. I know the whole world's going on Clubhouse, and I hang out for some calls too. So my last name is my user ID. Feel free to find me there. All right, that's it for this week's show. See you in a couple weeks. And if you are a super fan, our supporter, our GFA VIP member, see you next Tuesday and Wednesday. We have 2 different time slots, and it's pretty awesome. I've been really enjoying getting to know some of our core members, and we're adding some clips in these shows so you get to know some of them. That's it for today. Again, the URL is globalfromasia.com/USA Bank. Thanks for tuning in. Bye-bye.
To get more info about running an international business, please visit our website at www.globalfromasia.com. That's www.globalfromasia.com. Also, be sure to subscribe to our iTunes feed. Thanks for tuning in.